It's time for a challenge update. My R Fantasy bingo board is slowly filling up. I have the first 5 books read already, and with some new books on my physical TBR, I have planned out quite a few more fields to fill as well. So let's go through it together. So, welcome to my first reading challenge update for the R Fantasy bingo card. And as you have probably seen already, I have prepared this beautiful, very simple spread for that challenge. And today I want to go through the first 5 books that I've read for this challenge together with you and find out what I have planned for the next few books that I want to read for this bingo. I will say that it did end up being harder than I thought it would be because I don't only read fantasy and sci-fi. So I read quite a few books where I was like, oh, that fits really well for this prompt or that prompt, but they weren't fantasy or sci-fi. So I figured out, no, I can't actually use them. In any case, we did find quite a few books to use, so let's go through them now. And I'm gonna start with the books that I have already read, and then after that we'll talk about my plans a bit more. So the first book that I finished is Glenkill, and I might have decided to do this a bit controversially here because I'm gonna put it down for the Afterlife prompt. Now, the Afterlife is meant to mean a story that deals with the realm of the dead, which could be communicating with the dead, spirits transferring over, or being set in the afterlife itself. Now, on first glance, that doesn't probably make sense for Glenkill, but when I was rereading this book, I noticed that it does deal quite a lot with the theme of dying and what happens to you after you die. And the sheep in this book tend to believe that then you become a cloud in the sky. And they also believe that there's spirits around and that they can haunt you. So they're talking about a wolf spirit a lot. And basically, it's all in their heads, but because they're the main characters and it's a big topic for them, I figured that I will count it for the Afterlife. For one, because I feel like it should fit, and also because I haven't seen another book that fulfills this prompt for me that I feel like I really want to read. So I'm gonna decide that that's fine for me, and that's why it goes in there. And in case you haven't heard about this book so far, it has actually just been made into a movie, which is why I picked it up to reread it, but I read it first when I was very young, so that's why I feel like it should count anyway. And basically, there is a group of sheep and they have their shepherd, George, and George gets killed and is found dead by the sheep in the morning. And now the sheep decide that since humans tend to not do a very good job at anything, in their opinion, they think they have to solve this murder. So basically, it's a murder mystery from the perspective of a group of sheep. And for me, that's a fantastic element because, of course, the sheep are not really going to think like they are in this book. So that's why I figured that counts. And it's quite a funny story, but it also has quite a few not that easy topics that it deals with, like drugs and drug money. So I'm not sure if it's for everybody to read it, but the movie has been made in a way that makes it quite easy to digest for children as well by changing quite a few things. But yeah, that is book number 1. Let's head on over to the next one. And the next one that I'm gonna go for is the Game Changer prompt. And for this one, I read Red Rising, which was something I really had been looking forward to reading anyway. So that works out really well because the Game Changer prompt is about a story that features a game or competition, and the protagonist for hard mode needs to bend or break the rules in some way. So that is why Red Rising is actually also counting for hard mode, and I'm going to mark that by giving it one of these stars if they do want to come off. Here we go. So with that said, Red Rising was quite a great read as well. I really enjoyed it. It's of course book 1 in a longer science fiction saga. And if you haven't heard about it, which it has been around quite presently, so I think most people probably have, basically it is a futuristic setting where you have a group of people living on Mars, and our main character, Darrow, grows up in the lowest caste of this society, basically, and has to work in the mines. But a few things happen, and he gets roped into a revolution and basically infiltrates the kind of academy of the higher class, or the highest class actually, and tries to get in undercover there. And that's where the competition takes place as well, so that's why it fits. Not gonna say more because of course I don't want to spoil it. But it was a really good read, and I will continue the series for sure as well. Just have to wait for holds in my library to become available again. So yeah, that's book 2 then. The next one is the Duology part 1 that I want to get through. And for that one I read Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. And I already read the whole trilogy by the same author, so this doesn't count as the hard mode, but that's okay because I really just wanted to somewhat get through the board, because I'm also starting to do Herkiet, and that's gonna take a lot of planning as well, so I'm okay with not going for hard mode too many times. Dance of Thieves is a really fun YA romantasy duology, and this one is book 1, of course. I will also read book 2 to fill out the part 2 of the duology field as well, and it plays in the same universe than the trilogy by Mary E. Pearson, the Remnant Chronicles, play as well, so it's quite good if you read them before, but you don't have to. And in the beginning I wasn't quite sure if I would enjoy it that much because it was quite tropey to start out with, but then after a bit the world building got really intense and really interesting, and we didn't only have a love story but we also had a lot of plot happening, so I enjoyed it. It's quite easy to read because it's YA, and it was a fun little thing to do in between more difficult reads basically. But yeah, that's of course a great fit for a fantasy duology. So going back and heading over to some lower books on here. Next up I want to tackle the non-human protagonist, which was quite easy to do since I started to read the Murderbot Diaries as a series. Because as the title suggests, the Murderbot Diaries follow a murderbot, or basically a construct, and a construct is not a human being. So in this case, the prompt says that the protagonist has to be non-human, and hard mode is that there are no human POVs in the story. And in the Murderbot universe, the only POV is actually the Murderbot, so we're doing very well on that, and that's why it will get a hard mode star for this prompt as well. So let's have a quick look at this book as well. This is actually the second book in the Murderbot Diaries, Artificial Condition, because I had already read All Systems Red at that point, and it was again a really fun read. It's quite a short novella, it's less than 100 pages, and basically our construct, which is a security unit and thus kills people, so it has called itself Murderbot, is trying to find out more about its own past. And it gets to talk to a quite funny, intelligent transport bot on the way, and then it has to do some more missions to also try and get closer to figuring out what happened when some of its memory was deleted, basically. So it was really fun to read. I really liked the series, and I'm already waiting for the next part to become available as well for this one. And yeah, let's head back over here. And we have one more finished book that we want to go through. And that one is A Black Powder War, which is part of another series that I actually own most books of. And that will be the Temeraire series. That's all about a dragon and an alternate history. And the dragon obviously makes it fantasy, so that one works quite well. And in this case, the prompt that I'm going for is politics and court intrigue. And that wants politics to be central to the story's plot. Anything from royalty, elections, any wars, or also smaller local politics. Hard mode would be having a focus on a city level, which this doesn't. It has a focus on a whole continent basically, but it takes place in the middle of a war, so that's why politics in that case definitely count as well. This is actually book 3 in the series, and as I said, it is an alternate history about Europe and the Napoleonic Wars time. And basically it asks the questions, what would have happened if the different countries would have had different types of dragons as well, and those dragons help in the war. So that was quite an interesting concept to start out with, and what got me hooked on this series is actually the friendship between the main dragon and the captain flying the main dragon, and that's just a really beautiful friendship and a very valuable non-human friendship as well, because he treats his dragon really, really good, and I like the discussions that the two have quite a lot. So another series that I'm continuing, and as I said, I already have the next part of the series on my shelf. So yeah, that's this one done as well. And those were the 5 books that I have already completed for the bingo. Now let's head over and look at a few ideas that I've noted down here, but of course I haven't put them in yet and I'm not going to put them in yet because I still have to read them. So I was looking through the thread with recommendations for the trans or non-binary protagonist because I didn't have an idea of what to read for it. And on that thread I found The Blighted Stars by Megan O'Keefe. And I didn't know that this had any trans or non-binary people in it, but I haven't read it yet, and as you can see, it's on my physical TBR. So I figured, why not go for it and try this one, because it sounds like it would fit, and that's great. So I'm gonna take this one and go for it. Then next up we have the translated prompt, in which we want to read something that has been translated quite recently, if possible. And again, I wasn't quite sure if I had anything really sci-fi available that I wanted to read, but it was great that I went to Eurocon because I got this amazing magazine, which is a German magazine. It's called Kapsel, and basically what they do is they translate all kinds of Chinese science fiction stories. So this magazine has one large science fiction story in it, and basically just by looking at how thick it is, it would probably count as a novella as well. And since it is translated from Chinese and it literally just is one of the current editions of this magazine, it is quite recent, so it would even count for hard mode as well. So I figured I'm going to go for a magazine instead of a book because, in my opinion, magazines are underrated and this should count as well. And as I just said, I went to Eurocon, and I will link you the video of me talking about that because that was an amazing experience. But that also helped me get a lot more small self-published authors that sounded really interesting. So I have quite a choice of different books to go for. And two that I might use for this prompt would be City of Day by October K. Santarelli or Neuen by Sherry Singerling, because they're both quite small authors and I think these books would fit beautifully for this prompt. So I'm gonna go and look into these guys and see which one I'm gonna pick up first. Not sure about that yet. Anyway, the next idea that I have is one book that I don't own, and that's about reading the 5 short stories. And I already said that I will also be doing Herkiat, so I need to do a short story collection and an anthology just to get one of those prompts done. And the anthology that I'm going for is called Epic, and it has fantasy short stories by writers of epic fantasy. So I'm going to probably be reading this anyway, and that fits in here as well because I will be reading the whole anthology. So I'm going for that, but I will get that one from the library, so I don't have it here. Same in terms of the library is for the R Fantasy Book Club or read-along book. I have decided to take a book that has been in the book club, and that is still The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. Because I'm really interested in the topic of animals and looking into animals and researching them, and I like having that set in a cozy fantasy setting. So that's something that has been on my TBR, and I will get to it sometime soon, I'm sure. Then we have the Explorers and Rangers prompt, and that one wants you to go find either an explorer that goes into a different region or a ranger. And I'm gonna go for The Martian because I'm already reading that one at the moment. And basically in that one you have a guy stranded on Mars that has to explore the area to somehow find a way to survive. So that works, of course. As I said, I'm already reading it. It's also from the library and I will be done shortly. So this one is as good as done already. Next up we have the Duology Part 2. So since I'm not going for hard mode, I can go with Vow of Thieves, which is the second part of Dance of Thieves. And I already have this one here as well because I really want to continue and learn more about the cool world building and figure out what's gonna go wrong this time. So this is gonna be up quite soon as well. With that said, we're gonna stay in the area of romantasy for the one-word title because I really want to get around to reading or listening to Feybound because that is on my priority list for this year. So I think I'm gonna go pick this up as an audiobook quite soon, and as it has a one-word title and is a fantasy book, it fits here really well. Next up we have the middle grade fiction book that I need to read, and for this one I want to choose Darkwing. That is a book about a bat and basically the evolution of bats, as far as I can understand it. I've read a whole series by this author and really enjoyed it, and I didn't know that he had a book that is also basically a prequel to the series. So I really want to pick that up, and he always writes middle grade, so that works out fine for this prompt as well. And again, I'm gonna go with if there's an animal that's telling me stories, then that is a fantastical element and it counts as fantasy. Next up, we have First Contact, and that's another book that I picked up at Eurocon because I heard that To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers is about a group of astronauts exploring different planets, and they also find life on these planets. And as far as I know, it will be suitable for hard mode as well, because Becky Chambers tends to write really cozy stories, so I'm quite sure that there's not going to be a war breaking out on these planets, and it's going to be a nice and peaceful first contact. So this is on my list to read very soon as well, because I'm really excited for it. And it's very short. Right. And next up for the murder mystery, I have another book that I picked up and got signed at Eurocon, which is great. And this one is by a German author, and it's a quite recent science fiction thriller. It's called Denial of Service, and basically it is about a very automated city and someone dying in the city, and then a coder and a bot try to figure out what happened and try to solve the murder. So that's why it would probably also count for hard mode, because there's no detective involved and there's just two normal, well, not people, but trying to solve this murder. So I'm gonna go for this one and see where it takes me. And then we have two more ideas left in the bottom row. And for the Cat Squasher, so the very thick book, I was first thinking about reading Black Prism, which is what I said last time. But now I've also bought this beautiful, huge book. And The Raven Scholar. And it has a full 646 pages, so it's definitely more than the 500 that I would need for this prompt. And as it is about another animal kind of storyline, I'm really interested in getting to it soon. So this is one that I'm gonna probably pick up for this square. So yeah. The final book I again don't own myself, and that would be Shadow Speaker, which I first thought about doing as part of the Duology prompt as well, because that's the first part in a Duology. But it is also written by a Nigerian author, so that is an author of color, and that's why I'm gonna instead put it down here to fulfill this prompt. And with that, we're already quite well on the way to getting this whole card filled up nicely, and I hope I can do that quite soon. So that is what I'm planning to read for the bingo card so far. If you have any ideas, especially about the unusual transportation, because unfortunately I've already read The Will of the Many, so I can't use that one, or for the older Protagonist, which I'm not sure what to read for either, or for something especially published in the 70s that would probably fit into my tastes, I'm very happy to have any recommendations in the comments on those squares. I do think that I might have something that fits Feast Your Eyes on this. I'm not quite sure. I have to check that out again. I'm quite sure that I will find something to go in the published this year field, and I will definitely find something for my vacation and judging a book by its title, but at the moment I still don't have anything set for those. So yeah, that's my current status on the R Fantasy Bingo card. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like reading challenges and you haven't seen me prepare my lovely spread for both my own summer reading challenge, which I'm doing quite well in as well, because I've already started a few books for this one, and also for the Herkiad version 3.0, which is going to be a real challenge, even though I'm gonna go for the Ain't Nobody Got Time for That version. I will link those videos for you as well, so that you can check them out if you're interested. But yeah, I think that's all that I have for you today. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I want to thank you for sticking with me till the end. So have a nice rest of your day and go read something nice as well. Bye!